I left my purse behind at the restaurant and returned to get it. Suddenly, the manager leaned in and murmured to me, "I'll show you the camera footage, but don't faint when you see it." What my husband did on the video made my knees buckle. It turns out that... Can you imagine the terror? One moment, I was celebrating my anniversary, feeling like the luckiest woman alive. The next, a restaurant manager was dragging me into a locked office, his face ghost white, whispering, "Please, don't scream, don't faint, just watch this." What I saw next on that screen, it wasn't just my husband, it was a monster. And it shattered my entire world. Just a few hours before, the air inside that fancy Manhattan restaurant was buzzing, felt warm and pleasant. Crystal chandeliers sparkled, reflecting off the fine china and crystal glasses. It was our 3rd wedding anniversary, you know? And at a quiet corner table sat what looked like the happiest family on earth. That was us. Me, Emily, and my amazing husband, Alex. We had his mother, Catherine, and his adopted sister, Jessica, with us. Laughter echoed. Classical music played softly. It was perfect. I was wearing this elegant designer dress, feeling beautiful, despite the faint lines of exhaustion under my eyes from weeks of these weird headaches. Tonight was special. Not just our anniversary, but a small celebration of my health slowly getting better. My husband, Alex, he was the picture of devotion. He'd cut my steak into tiny pieces, making sure I could eat easily. Every little movement, every touch, just screamed deep affection. I truly felt like the luckiest woman alive. I mean, I'd inherited a huge corporation from my late father, and here was Alex, who, I believed, loved me for me, not for my fortune. He gently caressed my hand, asking if the food was good. I beamed, telling him it was delicious, but what made it truly special was having my loved ones around. Catherine, my mother-in-law, chimed in, saying what a good wife I was, how I deserved all this happiness. And Jessica, the sweet adopted sister, admired our harmony. She even kept refilling my wine glass so politely. It felt like a dream. Dinner ended, and Alex, being the gentleman he always was, insisted on paying. He never let me touch my wallet, always saying it was his role as the head of the family. I loved that about him, even though everyone knew my wealth dwarfed his. We walked out into the chilly New York night. Alex, ever so thoughtful, immediately took off his jacket and draped it over my shoulders. Catherine and Jessica walked ahead, giggling, arm in arm. Alex even opened the car door for me like I was a princess. The car was filled with jokes and light-hearted chatter. It was truly perfect. Then, about 15 minutes into the drive, as we were just about to hit the FDR drive, a wave of panic washed over me. I fumbled around my seat. My purse, my designer leather purse, with my phone, wallet, and all my important IDs, wasn't there. I'd left it at the restaurant. My cheerful face instantly turned to horror. Alex, bless his heart, calmly pulled over, reassured me, and offered to turn back. But I saw Catherine in the back seat, already looking tired and sleepy. I felt so guilty, making her spend more time on the road because of my carelessness. So, I insisted I'd go back alone. I'd grab an Uber, pick up the purse, and Alex could drop them off first, then either pick me up or meet me at home. He argued, of course, wanting to come with me, but I convinced him I'd be fine. The restaurant was safe. I just needed a minute. Reluctantly, he agreed, ordered an Uber, and waited until it arrived. As the car sped back towards the restaurant, I actually smiled to myself. I felt silly for being so careless, but also so grateful for Alex. What an amazing, devoted husband. I pictured our future, maybe a child soon to complete our happiness. My heart felt full. The Uber pulled up to the restaurant, now much quieter. Some lights were already off. I hurried inside, hoping my purse was still where I left it. I was almost at our table when a man in an impeccable suit suddenly approached me. It was Mr. Roberts, the manager who'd greeted us earlier. But his expression was completely different now. No friendly smile. His face was pale, tense, his eyes serious. Cold sweat glistened on his temples. He stood directly in front of me, blocking my path. Before I could even ask about my purse, he politely, yet firmly, took my arm. His grip was surprisingly strong, almost as if he was trying to keep me from running or collapsing. In a low, trembling voice, he apologized for his discourtesy, but insisted there was something urgent I needed to know. I was confused, tried to pull away, asking about my purse. He didn't answer. Instead, he led me to a door next to the reception desk, manager's office. Fear began to prickle. Had there been a robbery? His sharp, unwavering gaze convinced me to comply. Inside the small office, walls lined with security monitors, he locked the door. The click of the lock made my heart pound. I stumbled back. "What is all this?" I whispered, my voice trembling. He took a deep breath, trying to compose himself. He looked me straight in the eyes. "I have to show you something," he said, "from the camera above your table." He told me to pray, to be strong, to promise not to scream or faint. "What you're about to see," he warned, "will change your entire view of the people you just had dinner with." With slightly trembling hands, Mr. Roberts pressed a button. My eyes were glued to the main monitor. It showed a high-quality recording of our table, just 20 minutes ago. A timestamp in the corner. He explained he was doing a routine camera review when he saw something suspicious. He told me to pay close attention to the moment I'd excuse myself for the restroom. And there it was. My chair was empty. Only Alex, Catherine, and Jessica remained. At first, it seemed normal. But seconds after my back disappeared from view, Alex's entire demeanor shifted. The warm smile, gone, replaced by a cold, calculating expression. My stomach dropped. He glanced left and right, making sure no waiters were watching. Then, his hand moved quickly. He grabbed my purse from the table. My heart stopped. I watched him expertly open it, as if he knew every single item by heart. He pulled out a small white bottle. My vitamin and iron supplements. I took them every night, on my doctor's advice, for my frequent dizziness. On screen, Alex opened the lid. Without a hint of hesitation, he emptied the entire contents, my real vitamins, onto a paper napkin he prepared on his lap. He crumpled the napkin, shoved it into his jacket pocket. Then, he reached into his pants pocket, pulling out a small plastic baggie with other pills. Their shape and color were almost identical to mine. With a quick, practice motion, he poured those strange pills into my bottle. He capped it, shook it gently to make it look normal, and put it back in my purse, in the exact same spot. The whole thing took less than a minute. I clamped a hand over my mouth, suppressing the scream that clawed at my throat. Tears welled up, but I forced myself to keep watching. The most painful part came next. Catherine, the woman I thought of as my own mother. She watched the whole thing. Instead of being horrified, instead of stopping him, she covered her mouth to stifle a laugh star. Her body shook with mirth. Then, she did something that made my blood boil. She tilted her head, rolled her eyes back, mimicking a mentally disturbed, disoriented person. She pointed towards my empty chair, still making those grotesque, mocking gestures. Jessica, the sweet adopted sister, leaned close to Alex's ear. No sound, but her lip movements and facial expressions screamed support. She even patted his shoulder proudly, like praising a successful plan. The three of them raised their glasses, a discreet toast. Just before my image reappeared from the restroom, the video ended. The monitor went dark. The office fell into a terrifying silence. Only the soft hum of the air conditioner and my ragged breathing broke it. My world crumbled. My legs gave way, and I almost collapsed, gripping the sturdy wooden desk for support. Dizzy, nauseous, betrayed in the most vile way. My husband, my mother-in-law, my sister-in-law. A pack of wolves in sheep's clothing. Mr. Roberts quickly pulled up a chair. He placed a small bottle on the desk. My original vitamin bottle. He explained that after my family left, he immediately had the cleaning staff check the men's restroom trash. They found the crumpled napkin with my real vitamins, the one Alex had thrown away. He then spoke in a serious tone. He had a background in pharmacy, he said, before restaurant management. He explained the pills Alex put in my bottle weren't instant poison, but strong psychotropics. Illegal drugs. If taken routinely by a healthy person, They cause visual and auditory hallucinations, extreme anxiety, paranoia, confusion, and a complete loss of touch with reality. Their goal, he stressed, wasn't to kill me, but to make me appear insane style. My dizziness, my headaches these past weeks, likely the initial effects of small doses, probably mixed into my food or drink at home. I sat there, stunned, processing it all. The strange events of the past few weeks clicked into place. The whispers at night I thought were hallucinations. The shadows in the corners of the room. Forgetting where I put things. It wasn't illness. It was chemical manipulation. From the person sleeping next to me every night. Alex wanted to drive me mad. The motive hit me like a ton of bricks. If I were declared mentally incompetent, legally or medically, the right to manage my company, my inheritance, would fall to my closest guardian, my husband. They wanted to get rid of me and enjoy my wealth without becoming murderers. It was so neat, so evil. Suddenly, my phone buzzed loudly on the table. My husband. A picture of Alex, broadly smiling. I stared at it, a lost look on my face, torn between hatred and disgust. I wanted to run. I wanted to scream. I wanted to call the police right then. But Mr. Roberts held my hand, gently shaking his head. Don't be reckless, he advised. If I confronted them now, without proper preparation, they'd deny it. They'd destroy evidence. And I, already potentially under the drug's influence, would easily be accused of having an episode, of being hysterical. My position would be weak without concrete evidence beyond this footage. He told me to answer. To act as normal as possible. Begin the best performance of your life, he urged. I had to pretend I knew nothing. Make them believe their plan was working. That way, I could gather more evidence and turn the tables. I took a deep breath, wiped my tears, adjusted my voice. I pressed the green button. Alex's voice, full of false concern, now sounded sickening. He asked if I'd found my purse, if I needed a pickup. I replied in a voice I made sound a little weak, but calm. Purse found, at the reception. Waiting for a car. Don't worry. I hung up quickly, before my emotions exploded. I looked at Mr. Roberts, nodded firmly. He handed me my real vitamin bottle, told me to keep it safe as evidence. He also reminded me to take the bottle now in my purse, the one with the hallucinogen, but never to take its contents. I clutched my purse, not for its valuables, but as a shield. That night, I left Mr. Roberts's office no longer a naive, weak wife. A fire of anger burned in my chest, carefully hidden behind a calm face. The war had begun, and I swore they would not win. I was going back to a house that felt like a den of snakes, ready to play my part. The Uber pulled up to our beautiful 2-story townhouse. It looked majestic, cozy, a symbol of success and marital bliss from the outside. But tonight, it felt like a giant, cold, dark stage, full of traps. I paid the driver, took a deep breath. I had to go in there, face the people who wanted to destroy me, and pretend I knew nothing. I opened the door with my spare key. The living room was quiet, main lights dimmed. Alex appeared from the kitchen, a wide smile on his face, as if no crime had occurred. He hugged me, a gesture that once made me feel loved, now sent shivers of disgust down my spine. Calmer now that you have your purse back, honey, he asked softly. I forced a slight, stiff smile, nodded slowly, said I was just tired from the trip. Alex immediately led me to the sofa. With practiced ease, he picked up a glass of warm water and that vitamin bottle, the one I'd seen in the security footage. He shook out a pill, offered it to me. You should take your vitamin, so your head doesn't hurt tomorrow, he said, full of false affection. Your health is my top priority. I looked at the tiny pill in my palm. This small object, the weapon he was using to snatch away my sanity, piece by piece. With a quick, careful movement, I brought the glass to my lips, put the pill in my mouth, but didn't swallow. I hid it under my tongue, then drank a lot of water to convince him. Alex watched, satisfied, stroking my head. Good girl, he praised his obedient wife. I excused myself, claiming tiredness, and went to the master bedroom. In the bathroom, I immediately spit the pill into a tissue and flushed it. I splashed cold water on my face, stared at my reflection. Pale, but my eyes radiated determination. I couldn't be weak. I lay down, feigning sleep. Soon, Alex came in, kissed my forehead, whispered good night, and left, closing the door gently. I waited 10 minutes, making sure he wouldn't return. Then I slowly, silently, got out of bed. My mind raced back to the strange occurrences of the last month. The soft whispers at night, calling my name, baby cries, murmurs. They always woke me, drenched in cold sweat, making Alex and Catherine insist I was stressed or disturbed. Tonight, I was finding the source. I turned on my phone's flashlight, checked under the bed, the closet, the vents. Nothing. Then my gaze fell on an ornate painting across from my bed, a gift from Catherine 2 months ago. I approached it. Carefully, I lifted the heavy frame. My wild suspicion was right. Tucked behind the wooden frame was a small, black, square object, a faint blinking red light. A mini wireless speaker, attached with strong adhesive, hidden neatly. My blood boiled. The ghostly whispers tormenting me weren't my sick mind. They were voice recordings, played by my own husband, through this device. He purposely turned it on during my sleeping hours to disrupt my rest, to create the illusion of auditory hallucinations. I photographed it, then returned the painting. He wouldn't suspect a thing. My curiosity wasn't satisfied. I heard faint voices downstairs. Tiptoeing, barefoot, I crept down, avoiding the creaky spots on the stairs. The house was dark, but a dim light came from the family room. Alex and Jessica's conversation grew clearer. My heart pounded, terrified of being caught, but I had to know. I hid behind a partition wall. Through a gap, I saw them, sitting incredibly close on the sofa. Jessica's head rested familiarly on Alex's shoulder. His hand caressed her hair. I wanted to vomit. This betrayal was deeper, dirtier than I imagined. Not just my fortune, but an affair. Right under my nose. Alex laughed softly. Emily's taken tonight's dose. He said tomorrow, during the company meeting, the drug's effect would peak if I took the morning dose. He was confident I'd humiliate myself in front of the shareholders, making it even easier to commit me to a mental health facility. Jessica, in a sweet voice, asked when they could stop pretending to be adopted siblings. She was tired of being polite to foolish, naive Emily. She couldn't wait to be the true lady of the house, to send me to an asylum. She'd already planned a Europe vacation with my company's money for next month, as soon as Alex got conservatorship. Alex kissed her head. Less than 24 hours, he promised. Emily has no one else. Her parents are gone. She trusts us completely. I recorded that disgusting conversation on my phone. My hands trembled, holding back the overflowing anger. Tears streamed down my cheeks. No longer sadness, but pure hatred. Not a single person in this house was on my side. I was alone in a den of thieves. But that knowledge, it gave me a new strength. I turned off the recording, backed away, and crept back to my room. I lay in bed, staring at the dark ceiling. I wouldn't sleep tonight. I would map out a counterattack. Tomorrow morning, the real war would begin. Morning sunlight pierced the curtains. I hadn't slept, but my mind was sharp. I heard Alex's voice from the bathroom. Time. I groaned softly, holding my head, pretending to wake up confused. I sat on the bed's edge, body deliberately unsteady, face vacant. Alex approached, concern plastered on his face. He asked, his tone fakely soft, about my condition. I complained in a hoarse voice, head heavy, still hearing whispers. He nodded, cunning smile hidden. Probably just tired, he said, suggesting I rest at home. He reminded me not to forget the morning medicine on the nightstand. I nodded obediently. After he watched me take the medicine, under my tongue, of course, he left, saying he was taking Catherine to the market, then errands. He'd be back before lunch for the meeting. The moment I heard his car leave, I sprang out of bed. The dizziness vanished. I grabbed my phone, called James, my late father's trusted lawyer. Quick, firm words. Come to my house, back door, now. Fortunately, Jessica had left with Alex and Catherine, probably celebrating early. The house was empty. My golden opportunity. Less than half an hour later, James arrived, worried. I led him to Alex's private office, always locked. I knew where Alex hid the spare key, a flower pot in the hallway. We got in. The room was messy with documents. I went straight to the small safe in the corner. Catherine's birth date. I tried it. Click. The door swung open. James gasped. Stacks of documents. Irrefutable proof of Alex's crimes. James found the conservatorship petition Alex had drafted, stating I had a severe mental disorder, unfit to manage assets. All movable, immovable assets, voting rights, to Alex. A false statement from a psychiatrist, diagnosing paranoid schizophrenia. And then, the bank records. Transfers of fantastic amounts from the company's account to Catherine and Jessica's personal accounts. Falsified descriptions, supplier payments, fictitious operating expenses. Alex had been slowly bleeding the company dry, funding his mother's and Jessica's lavish lifestyle, jewelry, designer bags, even a down payment on a luxury apartment. All with my asterisk money. But the most shocking discovery was at the bottom of the pile. Jessica's passport. Her last name wasn't Alex's family name. And inside, a photo of a civil wedding between Alex and Jessica, dated 5 years ago, long before he married me. Jessica wasn't an adopted sister, not a distant cousin, not a new lover. She was his wife, ex-wife, the one they brought into my home under the guise of family. Nausea washed over me. How foolish I'd been for 3 years, letting that woman live in my house, serving her like a sister. Alex married me solely for my fortune. His true love was Jessica. James photographed everything, took crucial originals. Suddenly, a car engine. Alex was back. Much earlier than expected. The front door opened. Heavy footsteps on the stairs. James went pale. He couldn't leave through the front door. Hide, I whispered, pointing to the large closet. He slipped in just seconds before the doorknob turned. I stood rigidly in the middle of the room, trying to neutralize my expression. The door opened. Alex stood there, eyes narrowed with suspicion. Why are you in my office, Emily? How did you get in? It was locked. My heart hammered. Cold sweat. I forced a vacant, confused smile. I heard whispers. I whimpered. They told me to come find you. I felt so lonely, scared to be alone. I played the part of a wife losing her mind, convincingly. I approached him, hugged his arm, whimpering like a child, asking for protection from the evil voices. The suspicion in Alex's eyes slowly faded, replaced by hideous satisfaction. He saw me, a mess, dependent on him. A sign the medicine was working perfectly. He smiled, stroked my hair. There's no one here, honey. He guided me out, unaware that in the closet behind him, a lawyer held the evidence of his destruction. He said gently that I should get ready. Catherine would bring a special meal for lunch, to make me strong for the afternoon meeting. I just nodded, inwardly preparing for the next act. The sun was high, radiating intense heat outside. Inside, my house felt cold, terrifying. An invisible storm. After James slipped out the back door with the briefcase full of evidence, I sat on the living room sofa, regulating my breathing. The next act of this farce was coming. I couldn't make a single mistake. My enemies, the people closest to me, were extraordinary actors. I had to be better. Exactly at noon, the front gate opened. A taxi. Catherine stepped out, carrying stacked lunch containers and a large purse. A wide smile, so sincere to anyone who didn't know the rot in her heart. I watched from behind the curtain. She paused on the porch, shooed away the calico cat I often fed, even gave it a gentle kick. A flash of disgust on her face, then the sweet mask returned as she grabbed the doorknob. I instantly returned to the sofa, hugging a cushion, putting on a listless, slightly lost look. The door opened. Catherine's shrill voice. "My darling Emily," she cooed, a term of endearment that made my stomach churn. She placed her things on the table, sat next to me, caressed my cheek with rough but warm hands. "How's my favorite daughter-in-law today?" I replied weakly, head still heavy, world spinning. Exactly as their script desired. Catherine nodded, concerned. Normal, my dear, you're sick. She opened the containers. The fragrant aroma of rich, spicy beef stew filled the room. A dish I loved. Previously, I'd have been touched. Today, it smelled like death. This lunch, I knew, was a crucial part of their plan. The shareholder meeting was this afternoon. They needed me chaotic, hallucinating, or unconscious, so Alex could take control under the guise of my mental health. Catherine skillfully served rice and stew. Thick gravy, tender meat. But I was sure, hidden within that delicious gravy, was a much higher dose of that forbidden drug than last night's pill. She offered the plate, coaxing me to eat, to gain energy. I cooked this specially for you, sweetie, she said. So your mind will be calmer, you won't hear strange voices anymore. Her sweet words were deadly snake venom. I looked at the plate, doubtfully. I had to get rid of it without being discovered. I couldn't refuse outright. She'd force me, maybe even spoon-feed me. I thought quickly, then clutched my stomach, winced. I feel nauseous, Catherine, I managed, eating in this stuffy living room. Could I please eat on the back patio? Get some fresh air, so I don't throw up. She seemed to think for a moment, eyes questioning, but finally nodded. She even offered to get cold water. I didn't waste the opportunity. The moment her back disappeared into the kitchen, I rushed to the glass door. The calico cat was there, waiting for scraps. With trembling hands, swift movements, I emptied the entire stew into its food bowl. The hungry cat devoured it greedily. I scraped my plate clean, leaving only a little gravy on the edges to make it look like I'd eaten it all. I sat in a wicker chair, regulating my breathing, putting on a full-looking face. Moments later, Catherine arrived with the water. She beamed at my empty plate. Her face radiated an undeniable satisfaction. She praised me for eating heartily. The medicine in that stew will surely work soon, she said. To cure you. I smiled faintly. Inwardly, I confirmed her words. The medicine would work. But not on *me star. 15 minutes passed. We chatted. Catherine began subtly prying about Alex's office safe. Do you know the combination, dear? I feigned forgetfulness, a dazed look. Suddenly, our conversation was interrupted by a horrifying noise. The calico cat. It leaped high, as if stung, landed badly, then ran aimlessly, crashing into walls, flower pots, chair legs. Its meows turned into a long, heart-wrenching scream. Extreme pain, extreme fear. Its eyes were wide, wild, pupils dilated until they almost covered the entire eyeball. The poor animal spun, chasing its tail, then fell, rolling and convulsing on the patio floor. White foam frothed from its mouth. It was horrific. Catherine screamed, jumped onto her chair. Her face was ashen. Her eyes stayed fixedly at the dying cat. Her body trembled violently, not just from shock, but because she *knew star. She knew that horrible reaction was meant for *me star. The dose she'd mixed into the stew was too strong even for a human, let alone a small animal. Fear began to creep into her heart. What if I had eaten it, and died right here? Their plan would collapse. They could be charged with murder. I, still calm in my chair, looked at Catherine with feigned innocence. Why is the cat acting so strangely, as if possessed? I asked, confused. I even approached the cat, now weakening, twitching slightly. Maybe it ate something poisonous outside. My words struck Catherine's heart. She hastily got down, pulled my hand away. Probably rabies, she stammered. We should go inside immediately. Inside, she was restless, glancing at the clock, then at me, suspiciously. Waiting for the drug's reaction, she believed was in my body. But I still seemed normal, just sleepy and weak, not convulsing or going mad like the cat. This confused her, but she didn't dare ask. Perhaps the effect is different in humans, she must have thought, trying to calm herself. Soon after, Alex arrived with Jessica. He strode in, confident, in an expensive suit bought with my credit card. He looked at his mother, silently asking. Catherine nodded slightly, mission accomplished. Alex smiled, satisfied, stroked my head. Time to get ready for the office. Honey. He said I had to attend the important meeting for formality, but not to worry, he'd handle everything if I didn't feel up to speaking. I obeyed without much comment. I let Jessica help me choose clothes. She picked drab colors, deliberately messed my hair, to make me look even more neglected for the investors. I looked at my reflection as Jessica fixed me up, a mocking smile on her face. In the mirror, I saw the gaze of a warrior, ready to draw her sword. I let them dress me like a broken doll, because the more broken I appeared now, the more dramatic my resurgence would be. As Alex took my arm to leave, I glanced at the back patio. The polecat was no longer moving. An innocent victim. I promised in my heart its suffering would be paid for in full today. The drive to my family's skyscraper office felt long, tense. Inside the luxury car, the silence was heavy. Alex held my hand, playing the protective husband. But I could feel the coldness of his palm, the fine sweat. He was nervous, but also wildly excited. Jessica, in the front, kept glancing in the rearview mirror, exchanging knowing looks with him. Catherine hadn't come, still shaken by the cat incident, preferring to await news of victory at home. The car stopped at the main lobby. I deliberately dragged my feet, leaning heavily on Alex's arm. Employees, security, looked at me with pity, discomfort. Rumors about my mental state had already been spread by Alex and his accomplices. They saw their elegant, firm boss now looking lost, vacant-eyed, clothes disheveled. It further convinced them I was incapable. Alex led me to the executive elevator. Inside, he whispered, "Be calm, honey. You don't need to say anything. Just sit and nod." He also informed me a private doctor, Dr. Miller, was waiting in the boardroom, ready to give me additional vitamins by injection if I felt dizzy. I knew what those vitamins were, a high-dose sedative to make me pass out if I deviated from his script. The elevator doors opened on the top floor. We walked down the plush carpeted hallway. In front of the double wooden doors stood Dr. Miller, in a white coat, medical bag in hand. He looked at me with an appraising gaze, like a butcher sizing up cattle. He nodded to Alex, signaling he was ready. I lowered my head, hiding the gleam of anger in my eyes. The boardroom doors opened. Cold air, expensive coffee aroma. Around the immense oval table sat a dozen important people, shareholders, board of directors, division heads. Their faces serious, tense. Silence fell instantly. All eyes on me. Some concern, some disdain. Alex, full of confidence, guided me to the president's chair at the head of the table. He sat to my right, the vice president's usual spot. Dr. Miller sat in a corner chair, on alert. Alex opened the meeting with his baritone voice, authoritative, full of empathy. He began by thanking everyone, then, with a feigned sad face, recounted my health condition. He spoke of severe mental health disorders, fabricating stories of hallucinations, paranoia, emotional instability, all endangering the company under my leadership. Whispers erupted. Some nodded, confirming the rumors they'd heard. Alex continued, saying to save the company, he, as my legal husband and closest guardian, offered to temporarily take over my authority and voting rights through conservatorship. Jessica, in the back, quickly distributed copies of fake medical documents and the draft power of attorney. Then, Alex turned to me, an intimidating gaze camouflaged by a gentle smile. He asked the room if anyone had objections, or if they wanted to hear from me, though he doubted I could speak coherently. One of the older board members, loyal to my father, raised his hand. He requested I speak. Alex tensed slightly. He signaled Dr. Miller. He brought the microphone to my mouth, whispering softly, "Say you agree, honey, or the doctor will give you the shot right now." It was then that I lifted my face. My vacant gaze became sharp, clear, full of authority. I straightened my back, shedding the sick persona. I pushed Alex's hand away, taking control of the microphone firmly. This drastic change made Alex jump. Dr. Miller froze at my piercing gaze. I opened my mouth. My voice was strong, firm, and perfectly sane. No tremor of fear or confusion. "Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen," I began, polite but dignified. "Thank you for your concern about my health. However, I want to correct a fatal mistake my husband has just communicated." I paused, letting the tension fill the room. Alex started to sweat, his face pale. He tried to interrupt, claiming I was delusional, but I raised my hand. A gesture of command so strong, he fell silent. "I am not insane," I continued, my voice resonating. "I am not sick. I am not hallucinating. And I am fully aware of what is happening in this room. What you have seen as symptoms of mental illness all this time is actually the result of a systematic attempt to poison me using illegal psychotropic drugs." The boardroom erupted. Shareholders looked at each other in shock. Alex panicked, stood up, shouting I was having an episode, delirious. He ordered Dr. Miller to act. Dr. Miller advanced with the syringe. But before the needle could touch my skin, the doors burst open. James entered, flanked by 2 uniformed NYPD officers and Mr. Roberts. I stood up, staring at Alex, who was trembling. "I'm not the one who needs a doctor, Alex," I said, pointing at him. "You're the one who needs a lawyer." I turned to the shareholders. "And you," I said, "all of you need to see who the real parasites eating away at this company are. James, please turn on the projector." The large white screen behind me slowly descended. Alex tried to run for the laptop, but the police blocked him. Cornered, trapped in his own web. I smiled faintly, a cold smile of victory. This meeting wasn't my downfall. It was the end of his rotten charade. The projector screen lit up, ready to display the truth that would destroy his life forever. The hum of the projector sounded incredibly loud in the deathly silent room. The bright white light hit the wide screen behind me, creating a silhouette of a woman, upright and unmovable. Alex, blocked by 2 police officers, stood petrified, his face pale. He wanted to scream, to stop it all, but his tongue felt numb, a large stone blocking his throat. Cold sweat, like corn kernels, appeared on his forehead, soaking his expensive shirt collar. He knew what would appear on that screen. A recording of the past he thought was safely buried with my lost memory. I signaled James. He nodded, pressed play. The first video, the restaurant security camera. Sharp quality. Everyone could clearly see the faces. Shareholders, initially doubtful, leaned forward, squinting. On screen, our harmonious table. Me, Emily, getting up for the restroom. This asterisk was the beginning. Alex's movements were clear, irrefutable. He looked left and right, like an amateur thief, then quickly grabbed my purse. A collective gasp of shock. They watched Alex dump my vitamins, replace them with strange pills from his pocket. It was so planned, so cold, done by a man who, moments ago, had praised his wife as the most attentive husband. The image of the loving husband he'd built? Gone. What was on screen was a cunning con man poisoning his own partner. The video continued, more painful. Catherine's face, digitally zoomed in by the forensic team James hired, appeared in close-up. The old woman, known for being religious, was laughing heartily, mimicking a madwoman, mocking her absent daughter-in-law. Jessica, clearly seen, patting Alex's shoulder with pride. The video was silent, but their body language screamed. The evil conspiracy laid bare. The boardroom erupted. Murmurs of anger, disbelief. Some board members shook their heads in disgust, looking at Alex as if he were dirt. Alex tried to defend himself amid the chaos, shouting, voice hoarse and trembling, that the video was manipulated, that I paid tech experts to defame him. He insisted it was a fake, an AI-generated video to bring down his credibility. But I gave him no chance. James, the second file. This time, an audio recording. A brief static, then Alex's voice. Distinctive, crisp, clear, undeniable. It was the conversation with Jessica from last night. Alex's voice, arrogant, full of laughter, saying I'd taken the poison, that I'd soon go crazy. Boasting about his plan to lock me in an asylum to control all company assets. Jessica's voice, fawning, talking about their European vacation, their official marriage after getting rid of me. Their cruel words echoed, bouncing off the wood-paneled walls, hurting every A. That confession of sin came from their own mouths, shattering all Alex's accusations of manipulation. No technology could imitate such hatred and greed. Jessica's face, in the back, was white as paper. She tried to hide behind her hair, wishing she could disappear. But the attendees' sharp gazes were skinning her alive. I stepped forward, standing right in front of the screen. The pills my husband introduced, I stated calmly, emphatically, were dangerous psychotropic substances designed to damage the nervous system, cause permanent hallucinations if consumed continuously. I showed the lab results I'd received that morning, proving the pills in my purse contained the substance. Then, my clean blood test results, proving I hadn't taken the drug, that I was completely healthy. Before their shock could subside, James displayed the next slide. Financial data. Rows of numbers, graphs, transfers of hundreds of thousands of dollars from company accounts to Catherine and Jessica's personal accounts. Purchases of jewelry, luxury bags, new cars, an apartment down payment. All using company money, embezzled by Alex forging my signature. The last document, Jessica's passport photo, and the photo of her secret wedding. Alex's biggest secret. The man who claimed to have married me for love was already married, using me as a cash cow for his secret family. Alex's world collapsed. His legs gave way. He fell back into his chair, vacant stare. All his carefully laid plans for 3 years, destroyed in less than 15 minutes. He looked for an escape, but the door was guarded. He looked at Dr. Miller, but the Bartov doctor was already detained. Alex was alone, completely alone in a sea of judgment. An older board member stood, slammed the table. He pointed at Alex, finger trembling with anger. Traitor! Master swindler! He declared a vote of no confidence, demanded Alex's immediate arrest and prosecution. The meeting turned into a public trial. Shouts of anger directed at Alex and Jessica. Jessica cried hysterically, screaming she was just following orders, that she was threatened, trying to save herself by sacrificing him. Pathetic, and utterly satisfying for me. I watched the chaos without expression. No overflowing joy, just deep relief. The heavy burden was lifted. Alex, small and pitiful. The man I once adored was now a criminal caught red-handed. I walked slowly to his table. The police made way. I stood imposingly in front of him. He looked up, meeting my eyes. He hoped to find remnants of love, compassion. He tried to reach for my hand, begging forgiveness, voice hoarse. I was wrong, Emily. Pressure from my mother. I love you. But I pulled my hand away, disgusted. I wouldn't be fooled again. His charade was over. The curtain forcibly brought down. I brought my face close to Alex's ear, whispering so only he could hear. The game isn't over yet, Alex. I reminded him of a small thing, trivial, unnoticed by him in his ego, the mineral water he'd drunk in the car. My whisper was a key, opening hell for him. One last surprise, my elegant revenge dessert. He remained motionless, processing my words. Emily's words spun in his head. The bottle of mineral water he believed was sealed and safe. Drunk to the last drop because of nerves and thirst. I stepped back, a faint, meaningful smile. I spoke again, louder this time, for James and the police, but still intimately terrifying for Alex. As a devoted wife, I said, I couldn't bear to see my husband tired and thirsty. So, before leaving, I prepared a special vitamin in Alex's water. The exact same vitamin Alex prepared for me last night and this morning. I paused, letting it sink in. The difference is, I gave a much more generous dose. Because I knew my husband needed extra energy to face this day of judgment. Alex's heart stopped. His hands flew to his neck, as if he wanted to vomit the water, already mixed with his blood. He remembered it tasted a bit bitter, but ignored it, thinking it was toothpaste, or nerves. It was the taste of his destruction. The psychotropic substance circulated through his system, waiting to detonate his sanity. Suddenly, the room felt impossibly hot. The air conditioning, previously cool, burned his skin. He yanked at his tie, his breathing ragged, his vision blurred. Faces around him changed shape. My face, beautiful and calm, slowly elongated. My eyes grew larger, turned bright red, as if I were transforming into a terrifying monster. He rubbed his eyes, but the vision became more real. The drug was working faster than expected. Empty stomach, High stress. Visual hallucinations attacked him. The shareholders weren't humans. They were monsters with fangs. The long table moved, a giant snake coiling. The floor shook violently. Though the room was still, Alex screamed hysterically. He jumped from his chair, crashing into a police officer. Demons! They want to eat me, he shrieked. He pointed at me, trembling finger. She's a witch, summoning evil spirits. The attendees recoiled. They saw a grown man suddenly lose his mind, shouting at nothing, scared of his own shadow. Alex fell to the floor, crawling, covering his head. He babbled nonsensically, confessions of sins mixing with absurd fears. He screamed for his mother, begging her to shoo away the black cat circling his legs. He yelled about money, the safe, his plan to poison me. Everything poured out uncontrollably from his foaming mouth. The hallucination forced him to vomit all the truth he'd hidden. Such irony! The script of madness he prepared for me was now playing out on him in the exact place and time he'd planned. Jessica, seeing Alex lose his mind, panicked. She tried to run for the emergency exit, tripped, fell flat. The police handcuffed her. She cried loudly, watching her adopted brother and secret husband rolling on the floor like a man possessed. That scene was the strongest proof for everyone. Alex was truly unstable, not me. Dr. Miller, also secured by police, shook his head. He knew what these symptoms were, acute overdose reaction to the hallucinogenic drug he'd illegally prescribed. No instant antidote. Alex would endure this horrific journey for hours, days. The doctor lowered his head in shame. His career was over. I remained still amidst the chaos, a stone pillar in a storm. I looked at Alex. Pity, yes, but buried under the pain he'd caused. He crawled to my feet, not for forgiveness, but thinking my legs were a pillar to shelter behind from the monsters in his head. He hugged my legs, crying like a baby. Snot and tears soaked my dress. I didn't move. I let him feel how low his position was. James signaled the police. 3 officers advanced, struggling to restrain Alex, who kicked and punched blindly, screaming they were demons dragging him to hell. It took extra force to handcuff him. He kept struggling, eyes wild, muttering unknown names. I stepped back, freeing myself. I straightened my clothes. I looked at the petrified shareholders. Calm, authoritative. I apologize for the inconvenience and the drama today, I said. The meeting will be postponed. The company will be immediately cleansed of all criminal elements. As Alex was dragged out, he turned, looked at me one last time. In his hallucinated vision, I shone brightly, dazzling, like the angel of death signing his sentence. He let out a long scream, a cry of despair that echoed down the hallway. The end of a career, ambition, sanity of a man too greedy. I sighed deeply as the boardroom door closed, taking Alex's screams with it. Silence. James patted my shoulder. I smiled faintly. I looked at Mr. Roberts. He nodded, respectful, proud, as if seeing his student pass her toughest exam. I knew my physical battle was over, but reclaiming my heart and the company's good name had just begun. But at least the real poison, those toxic humans, were expelled from my life forever. The chaos slowly subsided. Alex's hysterical scream still seemed to hang in the air, leaving unease. I stood, shoulders relaxing. I took a deep breath, inhaling the scent of freedom. The shareholders were frozen. No one spoke until I turned, looking at them. With a calm, authoritative gaze. James, efficient as ever, opened windows, turned on all the lights, changing the gloomy atmosphere. He distributed copies of original documents, proving I was the sole legitimate owner and perfectly sane. I spoke again, apologizing, assuring them company operations would continue normally. A full audit would immediately trace all embezzled funds. My professional, strong demeanor instantly restored their confidence. Those who doubted me now looked with new respect. One by one, they greeted me, offering support, condemning Alex's vile acts. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, false peace enveloped Catherine's luxurious house. She sat on the sofa, enjoying tea and cookies, feet propped up on the coffee table, a doty habit she never dared when I was home. Her face radiant, imagining her son gallantly leading the meeting, sending the foolish daughter-in-law to an asylum. She was already making a new shopping list, a diamond set, a renovated, more luxurious room. She glanced at the clock. Meeting should be over. She reached for her phone to call Alex or Jessica to hear news of their victory. But before her fingers could press call, a loud banging at the front door. Not a polite knock. Rough thuds. Firm shouts. Catherine's heart leaped. Her teacup slipped, shattered, spilling sticky brown liquid onto the carpet. A bad feeling. But her ego refused to believe it. Debt collectors for Alex's cards. Wrong address, she thought. With trembling steps, an angry face, she opened the door. The insults died in her throat. 3 uniformed police officers. 2 plainclothes detectives. Behind them, a patrol car, blue lights flashing, drawing neighbors. Catherine stumbled back, face pale as a corpse, stammering, "What do you want in the house of respectable people?" An officer showed an arrest and search warrant. He firmly explained, arrested for suspected involvement in attempted premeditated murder, fraud, embezzlement, criminal conspiracy, with Alex and Jessica. Catherine shrieked hysterically. Denied everything. I'm a devout mother. I couldn't do such a thing. She cried loudly, trying to manipulate them, but the police were unmoved. They entered, searching every room. In Catherine's room, undeniable evidence. Hidden in her closet drawer, several luxury jewelry boxes, receipts in my company's name. Several bottles of herbal medicine, mixed with sedative powder, remnants of the concoction she used to give me. Most incriminatingly, in the kitchen trash, police found a container of rat poison and leftover cat food identical to what was found in the dead cat's stomach on the patio. The part-time housekeeper, seeing the dead cat, had reported it to security, becoming an additional witness. Catherine was dragged out in handcuffs. She struggled, insulting me, calling me an ungrateful daughter. The neighbors, to whom she always boasted, now looked with disgust and mockery. The shame she felt was far more painful than the metal cuffs. She was put into the police car like a common criminal. Her dreams of luxury shattered, replaced by cold, gloomy bars. At the police station, I arrived with James to give a statement. I saw Jessica being interrogated through a one-way mirror. The once fashionable, arrogant young woman now looked disastrous. Makeup streaked, hair matted, eyes swollen. Seeing me in the hallway, she stood, banged on the glass, screaming for help. Begged me to drop charges, claimed she was only following Alex's orders, threatened that she actually wanted to warn me. I glanced at her fleetingly, expressionless, and continued on my way. Crocodile tears. She was as evil as Alex. James then delivered the news that plunged the suspects deeper into despair. All of Alex's assets, car, bank accounts, fraudulent investments, officially frozen. James had also filed a civil lawsuit to seize Catherine and Jessica's personal assets to cover the millions lost by the company. They wouldn't just rot in jail, they'd fall into absolute poverty. No money for expensive lawyers. No comfortable life inside a cell. That night, I returned to my large house. Empty. Quiet. No fake laughs from Catherine. No whining from Jessica. No manipulative greetings from Alex. I sat on the living room sofa, the place where I was so often lied to. I looked around. It felt so spacious now. Loneliness crept in, but then, an extraordinary tranquility. It felt like I'd been cured of a deadly chronic illness. I closed my eyes, letting a tear fall. Not of sadness for losing my husband, but to release the emotions of the suffering I had endured. That night, for the first time in 3 years, I slept soundly, without fear, without whispers in the walls, without sleeping pills. I slept in the embrace of the truth I had won. A month passed. Time, though slowly, was healing the invisible wounds. The city returned to its routine. Alex and his family's names became top news, the most shameful family fraud scandal of the year. But like all sensational news, public attention shifted, leaving the guilty to reap the storm in silence and suffering, far from the cameras. That morning, I sat in my office chair. Sunlight streamed through the large window, creating a halo around me. I wore an elegant navy blue suit. My face looked fresh, healthier. No dark circles. A natural blush. I read James's final report. The The court's verdict summary. The status of asset seizures. A faint smile touched my lips as I read the fates of those who tried to destroy me. Alex was sentenced to 12 years. Multiple charges: attempted premeditated murder, forgery, embezzlement, narcotics abuse due to his severely damaged mental state. He started his sentence in a maximum security psychiatric prison unit. The report mentioned he often screamed alone at night, calling for me, for his mother, living in permanent fear of the monsters he had created. The man who adored his appearance was now skin and bones, shaved head, lost gaze. He'd lost everything: looks, sanity, freedom. Jessica received an 8-year sentence. Guilt proven, identity, passport, marital status forgery, complicity in Alex's crimes. In women's prison, accustomed to an easy life, she became a target. The latest news said she worked in the laundry, washing other prisoners' clothes with delicate hands that once only touched designer bags. She often cried, asking for face cream. Ridiculous requests no one entertained. Catherine's fate was no less tragic. Not imprisoned as long as Alex, 5 years due to her age, but the social and economic punishment was far more painful. Her luxurious home foreclosed, auctioned off. All her jewelry, luxury goods confiscated. She truly had nothing. James said even distant relatives shunned her. The old woman, obsessed with status, now spent her old age behind bars, alone, branded as a mother who failed her son and a wicked mother-in-law. I closed the file, put it in the drawer. No explosive satisfaction. Just quiet gratitude. Justice had been perfectly served. I stood, took my purse, the same one I'd forgotten that night. But now, I held it with a firm grip. I had an important lunch appointment. Not with clients. With someone who saved my life. My car drove through Manhattan, towards the restaurant where it all began. Busier than usual. Since my case, its reputation had soared for its advanced security and integral management. I entered with a strange sense of nostalgia. No fear, no trauma. This place witnessed betrayal, but also my rebirth. Mr. Roberts waited at the same table number 12, but this time, set for 2. He greeted me with a warm, sincere smile. Not a manager's smile, but a friend's. I returned it, full of gratitude. We sat across from each other. Special dishes, cooked by the chef under Mr. Roberts's instruction, were already on the table. I opened the conversation by stating my intention. I took a thick envelope from my purse. Not money. A deed. I'd just bought a majority stake in the restaurant from the retiring owner. And as the new owner, my first decision was to appoint Mr. Roberts as chief operating officer with a significant shareholding. I wanted him to run the restaurant completely. He was the most honest, dedicated person I knew. Mr. Roberts was stunned, eyes welling up. He hadn't expected his kindness to bear such fruit. He gently refused, feeling it was too much. But I insisted. Mr. Roberts, I said, you not only saved my life from poison, but you saved my future from the poison of life. Without you seeing those cameras, without you daring to act, I might be in an asylum right now. Truly insane. Finally, he accepted, emotional. We toasted with natural orange juice. Healthy, pure, without poison, without deceit. I raised my glass, looked at him. To a new life, I said softly, and to the good people God sends, just in time. Mr. Roberts nodded firmly. To Mrs. Emily, he said, the strongest woman I have ever met. Lunch proceeded amidst laughter. I felt the burden completely gone. Looking at the security camera in the corner that recorded Alex's crime, I smiled faintly. I promised myself that from today on, I would be more careful. But I wouldn't close my heart completely. I would move forward, running my company, enjoying my life. A completely free woman. After lunch, I left, walked to my car. The afternoon wind blew gently. I looked up at the clear blue sky. The images of Alex, Catherine, Jessica slowly faded, turning into dust from the past that no longer hurt. I got into the car, started the engine, and drove away. In the rearview mirror, I saw Mr. Roberts waving goodbye. I smiled, put on my favorite music, and drove towards a bright future. Alone, yes, but not lonely. Because now, I had myself back. Completely. And that was more than enough. What would you have done if you'd seen that security footage? Have you ever had your trust so profoundly shattered? Tell me what you think in the comments. I really want to know.